Morning, Moose. What you got for us, mate?
Well, let's start with that Michael Yardy, because I know it's close to your heart. Yardy quits World Cup suffering from depression on the front page of the Telegraph, and I'm a bit ignorant here about what the whole situation is about, so maybe you can help put my ignorance to bed and maybe other people who are listening, because from the outside, and I don't understand, but a sportsman has the best lifestyle. It plays a sport whereby, or does something for a profession whereby everybody else would absolutely love to do, and I don't understand how a sportsman can get depressed. But you've obviously seen it twice now in your sport with Marcus Trescothick and Michael Yardy. I'm not being unsympathetic, I just don't understand.
I mean, not just with those two. Personal players, Essex and England, Graham Thorpe. There's been many more. This is a minority compared to it, Moose. Listen, you go through it yourself at times. It's how you deal with it as an individual. It's very sad. It's a mental issue. It's an illness of which you're away from home. People get homesick, Moose. Very simple.
Is it more than just boredom and homesickness?
No, it's a homesickness, maybe pressure of trying to perform. It's hard to describe unless you go through it. Marcus Trescothick, for example, when I've been on tour with Treds, you would never ever think that this guy would have real mental problems. In fact, an illness, because he's strong character, he's fun to be around, an awesome player, takes on the best in the world, and performed at the highest level. It's not like, he went through the odd bad trot, but generally he took on the best in the world and was successful. And you can't think, how can it happen to him? But it does. It affects you, it grabs you, and sometimes, Moose, believe it or not, there's nothing you can do about it.
I was going to say, do you ever get over it, or is it just now with Michael Yardy for life?
You can get over it, but it's hard. So for some people it's easier than others. But for a lot of them, it's a hard, long road. It's tough. It is. And it's sad in many ways, because as you maybe touched on there, you've got the world at your feet. You're playing for your country. It's a proud moment. You're earning plenty of money. Should money come into it? No, not really. But you're on international duty. You're at a World Cup, and yet you have to admit to having mental problems and coming away from it. It's very, very sad. But hey, fair play to Michael Yardy, as far as I'm concerned. He's big enough and brave enough to say, I've got a problem here. I need help. Because you know what, Moose? That takes a real man to do that.
On your sport, tell me a little bit about Michael Yardy. How do you feel about that?
Well, depression cheaply. I understand what Ronnie's saying. Jeff Boycott can be quite harsh. But a cricketer playing at a top level in a World Cup, and he's depressed. Go into a care home like I did last Sunday to see my 87-year-old mother and all the people round there that have got all those kind of Alzheimer's and depression, or you've got people around the country that are losing their jobs at the moment. Swimming pools are being closed down, libraries are being closed down, workers are being laid off, building sites are shut in. And a cricketer is talking about depression. Get on with it.
Ronnie,
get on with it.
Is Jeffrey too old hat?
Yeah, I think
doesn't understand
quite
it.
Thoughtless, to be honest, and so is Rob Shepherd, to be fair. I mean, have you ever struggled with depression, Rob? Do you know what it's like? Have you been in the company of people who are depressed?
Yeah, I'll just explain that.
Is it nice?
Well, it's not nice. Real depression. This is
no
fake.
Sympathy at all. This is fake, is it?
This is, to me, is a guy that can't play well enough for what he's doing, and he's running away. He's hiding.
Absolute rubbish, Rob. That's the biggest load of tosh I've ever heard you say.
Well, I'm sorry. You can't. You talk to me about depression.
You know what? It takes a real man to stand up and say, I've got a problem here. And that's what Mike Yardy's done. And you're just bagging him for that.
I'm not bagging him for it, but he's hiding behind something that people...
He's not hiding behind anything, Rob. He's come out and he said, I've got a problem. I need help.
Well, okay.
It takes a real man to do that.
Well, okay, maybe...
I think you should be more sympathetic.
Well, maybe I should be more sympathetic, Ronnie. But what I'm saying is, you've got highly paid professional sportsmen, that are using the depression word...
What's money got to do with it?
The depression word far too cheaply. You live on the dole for 6 weeks, and then you define what depression is, when you can't afford your electricity. And there's people up and down this country now.
I'm not arguing against that.
Well, there you go.
If I'm being dead honest here, by the way, my voice is terrible this morning, so I apologise. But can I just put my cards on the table here, Ronnie? If I'm being dead honest, I don't understand the illness of depression.
No, you don't. If you don't, then fine.
But I understand where Rob's coming from. Depression. I know you're looking at me like...
Go and visit a care home this week.
When you can't pay the mortgage,
I don't need to. I've done it
problems
many
with
times.
your children, or problems with your missus, or problems with yourself.
If somebody's ill,
that is a problem. That's an illness.
You're
like, God, what am I going to do? So I don't understand it.
Speak to Marcus Trzaskowski about it. At the world at his feet.
Ronnie,
as much money as Rob would want.
I am being honest here.
Who said I wanted money?
I don't understand it, personally. And I understand where Rob's coming from.
Well, listen, I thought it's very unsympathetic, both of you.
No, being honest, I don't understand it, personally.
That's what Yardy's been on. Yeah,
I'm with you.
Well,
7:30.
Matchday Live tomorrow from noon on talkspore.
Gareth Bale, eh?
Good morning, Quarty.
Come on.
Listen, I've got to say, sorry, I apologise for my voice. My voice is terrible today. But I apologise. Should I apologise for what Rob Shepherd said? And this is very interesting. Rob basically was saying that people who are depressive are weak, right? In a way, and I'm going to get slaughtered for this, but in a way, people keep telling me it's an illness. And we spoke to psychologist Mr. Cohn yesterday, and he said, no, it's an illness.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ronnie, I'm old school, and I am not arguing with a professor, right? And I'm not arguing with Mr. Michael Yardy, I'm not. But sometimes in life, I swear to you, mate, in my opinion, you roll your sleeves up. Stan Collins will be on the phone in a minute. You don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes you have to roll your sleeves up. When you're in big trouble, and when you're down, and everything's going against you, sometimes you have to roll your sleeves up, mate, and say, all right. I'll show you. And it's not instant, but you come back. If it's an illness, fine, it is. If it is, I don't know about it.
I mean, that's showing strength, but also, too, Alan, there's a strength of character by admitting that you've got an illness, that you've got a problem. And for me, I'm very sympathetic towards it. By the way, I played against Michael Yardy, and let me tell you, on the field of play,
that's got nothing to do with it.
He's a tough character.
Nothing to do with it.
He's a tough character.
Nothing to do with it.
And unfortunately, a mountain illness has struck him down. And for me,
so if I'm a bit fed up in India, I don't like the food. I feel, Ronnie,
it's not about the food. He's not complaining about the food because it's not.
You said yesterday.
He's been away from home.
Josh Sharp. You said yesterday that
he's not complaining about the food.
If it was Florida or if it was somewhere else, he might not be.
I never said anything like Florida. I never mentioned that yesterday.
All right.
No, I think that's a little bit ignorant towards depression.
All right, I'm making things up.
Yeah, I think it's ignorant towards depression.
No,
it really is.
What I'm saying is, if it's an illness, I'm sorry, but I've been a bit down in my life. You roll your sleeves up and get on with it.
That's you. This is Michael Yardy.
Oh, so
everybody's different. Absolutely. All day
so
long.
someone doesn't want to get out of bed in the morning and go to work.
What's that got to do with Michael Yardy and his illness?
No, you said that's
Nothing
me. You said that's you compared to Michael Yardy. If someone doesn't want to get out of bed in the morning, I don't like my job, I'm not going to work, then that's okay, is it? Because that's them. Someone gets out of bed and said, I'm getting underpaid. I
don't really understand where you're coming from.
Well, I do. Who gets out of bed and said, I'm getting underpaid, but I'm going to go and earn a few quid because I need a few quid. That's the comparison.
You get out of bed?
Talk sport, traffic and travel
with jobsorted.com. How about this for a handbrake turn? Good morning. You're waking up to the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast with Kelly, Irani and Ford. For their big game. Ronnie, just to say that I heard on the way in, and I'm not just coming on here and disagreeing with what Alan was saying, but last night when I was doing kickoff, clearly, I've got to tell you this, I believe that over the course of the next few days, the Michael Yardy situation is going to become the biggest story in sport, and I'll tell you for why. Because I have had to have a handbrake turn in my life, and I'll tell you for why. I used to be an absolute believer that if anybody had any kind of problem with motivation, with positivity, all that sort of stuff, I was a total pull yourself together, roll your sleeves up merchant. And I still believe, for what it's worth, that in most cases, people who are a bit down or a bit fed up, they need to be thinking more positively about their situation.
Encouraged.
But it has to come from within. But two things have convinced me over recent times that clinical depression is, of course, a very serious and absolutely unavoidable disease for those who have it. Condition is the word. It's not a disease, is it? One, I have somebody in my immediate circle, shall we say, who has talked to me very quietly about the condition that they're in, and it varies from day to day and week to week. And two, my own partner, bless her, works with the Samaritans, and I've not been going out with her all my life. And after she learned my view, she sat me down again, quite seriously and quite quietly, and went through the medical facts about this. The reason why I think it's going to become a bigger and bigger story is because I believe that among sportsmen, it is an elephant in the room. It's not spoken about.
Danny.